This podcast is produced by the Harwood Productions Podcast Network. To learn more about the network and to find more of our shows, visit us online at www.harwoodpodcast.com.
To find out how you can help kickstart our latest show, Live from Base 6, visit our website and click on the Kickstarter icon. Well, I got an email from Bruce, and he was asking if I could come up with a lighter clam chowder recipe. Well, I think I've done it. This is made with just 2% milk, so not a lot of heavy cream, but I have all kinds of great flavors in it. So let me show you how I made it. We're going to start our soup by getting 4 slices of a thick cut bacon. Now I want this bacon to be cut up really finely, so you'll notice I've taken the 4 strips and I've cut them in half lengthwise, and then I'm practically mincing the bacon. I'm just cutting it into very, very small pieces. Now over at the stove I have my soup pot. It's on a medium heat, and then I want to go ahead and I want to put the bacon in, and I want to start browning that off. Now while the bacon is browning, I'm going to go ahead and get my vegetables together. I'm going to start by getting 1 onion, and I'm going to go ahead and chop it up. Now when you first start, it's going to be a medium-sized chop, but as you continue to run your knife through it, we want this to end up being very, very fine. And then I'm going to move this to the side of my cutting board, and then I'm going to get 2 stalks of celery, and again, I want this to be very fine. So I'm going to go ahead and split these stalks, and then go ahead again. It'll start as a medium chop, but then I'll run my knife through it and make it a nice fine chop. Then I'm going to go ahead and move that to the side of my board with the onions, and I'm going to get a green bell pepper. Now I only need about 1/4 of this bell pepper, so I'm just going to take 1 big slice off, remove the any seeds and membrane that's inside, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut this up into some strips, and again it needs to be very finely chopped. Then I'm going to move that to the side, and then we're going to start preparing our potatoes. Now I have about 1.5 pounds of these little red new potatoes, and I'm going to take each one, cut it in half, and then I'm going to take each half and cut that into quarters, and that's going to give me a nice small but visible chunk of potato for this clam chowder. And then the last thing I need is 1 clove of garlic minced right on top of everything. Now my bacon is nice and crisp, so I'm going to go ahead and take my vegetables and put them right into the pan. Now I'm going to go ahead and stir these up, get them cooking with that bacon. And now to thicken the soup, I'm going to go ahead and add 2 tablespoons of flour to the vegetables right now, and I'm going to go ahead and stir that in and let this cook together for about a minute. One of the things that's nice about adding the flour to the vegetables like this is then when I go to add my broth and my milk, it won't lump up. It will just be nice and thick. Now for this broth, I'm going to be using some canned clam juice. It's important that you give it a good shake. And each bottle is about 1 cup. So I'm going to put in 2 bottles of this clam juice. Now for seasoning, I'm going to put in a teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of white pepper, and about a teaspoon of fresh thyme leaves. And so I've just gotten some sprigs out of my little herb pot that I keep in the house. So you just hold them upside down and then run your finger down the stem, and all the little leaves come off. Now I'm going to give this a stir, and it's starting to come to a simmer. So what I'm going to do is put a lid on this and let this cook for about 15 minutes until the potatoes are nice and tender. Now about halfway through the cooking time, you're going to see that this is really boiling a lot harder than a simmer. So at this point, I then turn the heat down to low and let it finish cooking the rest of the way. If you take the lid off your pot and start stirring it, you can see it's starting to get nice and thick, and that's what we want. So just give it a little stir about halfway through, turn the heat down, and then put the lid back on and let it simmer for the rest of the time. Now, while we're waiting for the potatoes to finish cooking, we can get our clams ready. And what I have are 4 small tins of chopped clams, not minced clams. These are actually bigger pieces of clam meat, which I think tastes great in the chowder. And what I do is I drain these, and all total we want about 2 cups of chopped clam meat. Then we also want to go ahead and measure out our milk. Now this is what is making this a lighter clam chowder, is I'm using just 2% milk. Many chowders use heavy cream and half, which adds a lot of fat and for my taste not enough flavor. So I'm using 2 cups of 2% milk, and I've got that ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and take the lid off. And you can see it's gotten nice and thick in here, and these potatoes are nice and tender, but notice they haven't fallen apart. We don't want that. And now I'm going to go ahead and add all my clam meat and my 2 cups of 2% milk. Now at this point, it's really important that we not let this soup boil. And now I'm just going to let this slowly cook on a low heat for about another 20 minutes. And those potatoes are going to continue to cook a little bit more, and as they release those starches, it's going to thicken this chowder up even more. Well, this clam chowder is just great. It's not too thick, not too thin, has great flavor. Now, if you like yours to be a little thicker, you can just let it continue to simmer on the stove, but just make sure you stir it every now and then. Now, if you want to give it a try at home, just go to our website, visit the Soups On show notes, and I'll have the recipe there for you. And as always, if you have any questions, please send me an email. I'll see you next time.